Hello everyone and welcome back to Dicebreaker, where we are looking at a very, very, very cool thing that has dropped literally just in the previous month. This is One More Multiverse crossed with Blades in the Dark, one of my favourite RPGs of all time. I'm joined by some of the Dicebreaker crew, including Maddie. How you doing, Maddie?
Hello, I'm very excited to be here.
We also have a Mr. Matt Jarvis.
Hello, I too am excited to be here, but it sounds slightly less cool now that Maddie already said it.
Copying me.
And then a special guest appearance, it's Chase Carter. Hello, Chase.
Hi, I'm ready to do some Droog Skull, like hood rat stuff with my friends.
Oh yeah, I think it's the first time we've had you role-playing on the channel, which is very fun. So this is, if you're not familiar with One More Multiverse, this is a very, very fancy and quite unique virtual tabletop, which you use to play role-playing games online. You can use it in person as well if you're all hovered around one screen, or if you're just got laptops over the table or something like that. But essentially it sort of visualizes the game that you're going to be playing. The exciting thing about this is, instead of just being a generic tabletop that you can use for anything, this Blades in the Dark pack has literally just dropped, which one person can purchase, whoever's acting as the GM, and then everyone can play in. And this has like built from the ground up mechanics and assets and character creation and all of that good stuff just straight in here. It comes with music and props that you can place and NPCs that you can mess around with, and it's very, very cool and very, very slick. Kind of makes playing an RPG feel a bit more like a sort of video game experience. With that in mind, we are here in the character creation. This is literally just running in my browser. I'm going to be GMing this adventure. We've also got everyone else in the call as players, but we're just going to jump into the playbook section of this character creation. Everyone's just going to kind of make their characters as we go. I can see, little icons for where people are on the thing here. We can see that. I think it looks like Chase there with a little C is on the intro right now, but by selecting the playbook, they can then pick what kind of characters they want to go for. So as they're looking around, I'm just going to explain how Blades in the Dark characters work. You have a playbook, which is essentially your class, but in Blades in the Dark, everyone is essentially a rogue. You're just basically picking the type of rogue that you want to be. Do you want to be the sniper rogue? Do you want to be the subtle manipulation kind of rogue? Do you want to be the sort of devious, controlling things from the background mastermind? Do you want to be the classic stealthy, hiding in the shadows kind of rogue? So everyone gets to sort of pick what they are, and then you'll see that as we hop over things, we've also got sort of like wiki inputs for how these different classes will work and the kind of things that you get from them as well. And everything is very, very interactable. So by clicking on anything, hovering over stuff, I get more information. I've got illustrations of what they look like, all that kind of stuff. What kind of characters are we feeling, gang?
I was going to say, Chase, Maddie, what's your
between
heart take?
two. I've also never played before, so I'm like willing to be guided if one sounds easier than the other. I'm between Spider and Whisper.
I think that pairs nicely because I want to go with the Sapper archetype, the Leech.
Ooh.
Cool. I was thinking Lurk, so I feel like
we've done it
nicely divided up there.
Ooh. I can't, which one do I pick? Would anyone say one's particularly easier for a first-time player?
Spider or Whisper, but Blades is fairly straightforward regardless of what character you pick. So yeah, I think whatever you're kind of more into, like the manipulative side or the kind of more, I guess the arcane side is like Blades isn't big on magic, but it's slightly more.
Yeah. So for a bit of context on the Whisper, the entire world of Blades in the Dark, which is this city called Dustfall, is just like absolutely littered with ghosts, to the point that, to keep the city safe, there's an entire electroplasmic wall built around it, because if you go outside of that, it's literally just wall-to-wall ghosts. So Whispers are pretty much the only ones who can actually interact with and visualize these ghosts properly using their mask that they interact with. The Spider is a bit more of a sort of almost like a sort of operations manager, like guiding people to where they're going, and it's very good at controlling and manipulating other people. So it depends on what kind of... Do you want to be spooky, or do you want to be in charge?
I think seems like Halloween was yesterday and might be spooky.
Yeah.
And because I'm new, I don't know if I want to be in charge.
I think that's entirely fair. Okay, cool. So as we grab our characters, I can see on the left-hand side. So we've got a lurk here, we've got a leech, and I can see that people are filling them out as well. So whilst we don't have character names just yet, I can see. Oh, it looks like whoever's picked the lurk is from the Dagger Isles, and they've picked the underworld background and all that kind of thing. So then at the top row here, we've got all of our sort of different parts of the character creation progress. So this is where you get to pick where you're from. So I could click on Severos, for example, and get a little bit more information on that and what Severos is all about and what kind of character would come from there. But at the same time, you can just, just like a character creation in any video game, you can just sort of grab stuff that looks cool and just, mess around until you get what you want, which is very, very fun. Yeah, so we can see now as Maddie picks the Whisper, suddenly as we go into the next section, you can pick a heritage. After that, you've got your background, and all of these things are mostly flavorful, but they're also going to affect your stats. And it's also going to give you an idea of the kind of character that you are. Like Blades in the Dark has a very, very sort of flavorful character creation, where it's not just about, what kind of abilities can I do? It's also about, well, who actually are you? Like, what kind of background do you have? So what kind of heritage are you thinking of, Maddie?
Just having a read through. I have like an idea of who I think my character is. So I'm just thinking how that would fit in best.
There's all sorts of little bits of flavour from hovering over things as well, which will give you like a quick little breakdown of what these areas are from. Let's check in with Chase. Chase, what are you up to?
Yeah, I'm putting my actions in. So I've made it past heritage and background, which for my character, I went with Akoros, which is like the industrial sort of center of Duskfall, sort of like a what we would call like a melting pot of cultures, which is basically they just forced a bunch of like conquered labor folks in there to do a bunch of the grunt work. Yeah, the bottom of this sort of like industrial capitalist part, and then my background is as a laborer, because as a leech I'm going to have access to different sort of like they're sappers, so there's going to be a lot of explosives and stuff like that. And my thinking is they got that from working with their hands and sort of making those connections, working, wage labor jobs, day labor stuff. And so that's where all of their expertise comes from. So now I'm putting points in.
Nice. Yeah, if we look at the actions tab, this is where your sort of your stats are, essentially. In Blades in the Dark, you're rolling dice pools. So every sort of point that you invest in a certain thing, you're going to get one extra d6 that you get to roll, with 1, 2, and 3 being a complete failure, 4 and 5 being a partial success, and 6 being a full success. But you'll also notice as well that as you select things in certain categories, if you select a sort of spread of results, so for example, Chase here has got 2 points in skirmish. If he had, 1 point in skirmish, 1 point in prow, that would actually improve his prowess stat at the top here, because that's kind of like a vertical stat rather than a horizontal one. And that's very good for reacting to things, resisting things. So, for example, your resolve might be called into question if you were injured in some way to stop it from getting too severe. So you'll see as Chase is picking all of his stats here, it's automatically updating on the top as well. Matt is all the way at the end here.
I know.
I've
gone straight to fashion. I'm a very fashionable scoundrel.
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Each of the playbooks as well gets some abilities to pick from, so Chase is just looking at a few of those as well. If you pick your actual class at the top here, you can go through all of them and see what they all do. But there's also every class, as far as I'm aware, has this veteran ability, which allows you to sort of pick and choose things from other classes so you can mix and match a little bit. I think that has a limited amount of uses though, so you have to be quite careful about where you grab that. From there on, we can see that Matt, who has sped through, has a friend called Frake. Want to tell me about Frake, Matt?
I just figured, I'm a bit of a scoundrel. I think Frake is a locksmith.
Locksmith, yeah.
So it makes sense for me to probably get pally with someone that is good with locks. That seems like it would benefit me, my line of work.
But then at the same time, you also need to pick a rival. So this is part of the kind of interactive world building that the players have with Blades in the Dark, where it's less about just the GM telling you what's going on and more about the players being like, well, I've got this mate who might be useful in this, or, oh, the guy who really, really hates me from down the pub would probably be in this situation and we're going to have to deal with him. So talk to me about Rosalind Kellis.
Rosalind Kellis is a noble. And again, I feel like I probably just had a few run-ins, maybe tried to break into their place a few too many times and just gotten away with it. It's a kind of a begrudging, it's a constant, maybe it's the unconquered heist that I've never quite pulled off yet.
The one that got away.
Exactly, yeah. Although in all of those cases it was me that got away, but without anything good to show for it.
And then, last but not least, before we go into any of the visuals, you also have your Vice, which is represented by these incredible demon illustrations. All of this stuff is like brand new with One More Multiverse's Blades in the Dark pack, so all of these visualizations of what these demons look like is really cool to see for the first time if you've played the game for quite a lot, just fresh out the book. What kind of a Vice did you go for your character, Matt?
I went for weird, just because I thought that would be cool. I was like, yeah, that seems cool. Yeah, like, I feel like, he's probably the kind of a guy that just likes to indulge in something a little beyond reality,
beyond
perhaps.
Comprehension.
Yeah,
your Vice is going to come in handy to clear your stress, which is one of your sort of like currencies that you have in the game. So you can spend stress, i.e., your character gets more stressed in exchange for certain things happening. Whether that's to help out a friend or to improve your odds at a dice roll, and then to get rid of that stress, you're going to need to indulge in your Vice. It's your way of like letting off steam. But a lot of the time, it's it's not necessarily the safest way to let off steam. So there's always bad things that can happen. Chase, what kind of Vice did you go for?
I went with pleasure. So my operative is going to be someone who they destroy stuff for a living. And that's normally like a sort of coordinated thing. It's what someone tells them to destroy, but every once in a while, they just love to go cause mayhem. They just need to let loose a little bit. And so on their off hours, they will just sort of tinker with their craft of breaking things down by destroying and causing wanton violence and mayhem, which is largely a problem when they're off the clock.
Right, Maddie's just looking at her rival now. So Maddie, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking someone that I perhaps double-crossed and they're not so happy with me now.
What did you do to them?
I think we tried to maybe steal something together, and then I had an opportunity to take it all and leave them behind, and I did that.
Which one are you thinking of going for?
I'm honestly picking visually for this.
See, the interesting thing about the Whisperer is everyone else has got a beggar, a blue coat, a locksmith. Whereas you go up to the Whisperer and it's like a ghost, a vampire, a demon. So this already raises the stakes for who your rival's going to be.
As someone that spends far too much time in RPG character creators, this is dangerous territory for me. There are many scarf options.
Yeah, it's really nice. I can't see your looking, so I'm gonna have to wait for Maddie to grab to that point. I'm playing as the GM, which means I get to do the sort of overarching sort of sweeping view of everything. You can see as people are starting to pick their looks, it's starting to update people's character profiles and stuff. But what's cool, this was already a thing in One More Multiverse because you can play it sort of out the box with 5e, I believe. But what's cool about Blades in the Dark is you've also got it's almost like a pickaroo, where it's you get your visual profile. I imagine sort of like Baldur's Gate, you picking your character art in the sort of sidebar, but instead it's the actual sort of different noses and eyes and pieces of clothing that you can have on top of top.
It's very, very cool. I have done both my little avatar and my portrait. It's good. And I just used the random name generator because I figure, we're here to show it off. I want to see what kind of names it came up with. So my full name is Cobb Break Iron, and my alias is Grip.
Excellent.
It would be.
Cobb Break Iron is a very good name.
We've got Droog here as well. Pronouns he they from Chase.
Mm-hmm. Real name Anthony Scarponi.
Oh, that's good.
I can have a look at your full sheet as well. So just by clicking on your little sheet icon here by your name, I can look at all of your stats, or the stress that you've got, your backgrounds, your vices, your friends and rivals, and all that kind of thing. And this little wisp of fire here is where your character will eventually start to look. And by going into the play tab, I've got all of the dice rolls that we can do, so I can just click on any of the stats that I need to roll, even the prowess and things like that. You can also see whether XP is going to be added on top. We go to inventory. There's a sort of interesting thing with Blades in the Dark where basically everything that happens in Blades in the Dark is happening in retrospect. So we have this ability to flash back to things that have happened in the past. So instead of saying, oh, okay, I'm going to choose all of the stuff that I'm bringing with me now and hope it's what I need, instead you just pick either light, normal, or heavy load. And that's kind of like the cap of the amount of stuff that you're allowed to decide as and when that you've got. So if I wanted to, for example, when playing as Chase's character here, pick this power drill, which is pretty exciting, I would have to add 2 to my load to be able to say that I've got it on me, at which point it's just on me and that's canon now. So instead of having to sort of do everything in advance, which especially with like these kind of heist games where, you know, there's a lot of planning involved, Blades in the Dark just sort of throws all that out the window and says, you know, plan in retrospect. You've gotten to the place, let's say that there's a key that you need for this door. Well, let's flash back to when you were talking to the locksmith and paying him off to give you like a skeleton key for the building, etc., etc. And we're going to manage all of that with our stats and our stress and all that kind of stuff. How's the look coming along, ET?
Oh, just so many options. That's my trouble. I'm just trying on literally every outfit over and over.
Not enough RPGs allow you to go on a shopping spree at the start.
I know, and this is why.
Got Toto fiddling around. I haven't sat on this computer for a very long time, and Toto is very interested.
Oh, I didn't realize you could layer stuff. That's fun.
Oh, my little avatar changes sides as I move my cursor. Sorry, I'm so easily won over by little touches like that. It's very nice. This is a very slick looking platform.
It is. It's kind of. I feel like that's the kind of main thing that separates this from a lot of its sort of peers in the same space, where it feels very, very slick. But I think where other virtual tabletops have gone for, you know, catch-all stuff that works for anything, it definitely feels like One More Multiverse is now leaning into that kind of, we're going to have like the ultimate way to play X game, right? The ultimate way to play Blades in the Dark, the ultimate way to play whatever it is that they've got next. I think Yuziba's Bed and Breakfast is one of their next sort of projects that they're bringing out at some point as well, which is pretty exciting, which is from the creators of Wonder Home, which is very cool.
I mean, you give me the Pompadour option, I'm going to choose the Pompadour option.
Oh, there are just so many options.
God, the wind outside is wild, by the way.
I know. It's so spooky. I love it.
Setting the atmosphere.
So is this who's this on the screen already? Is this Matt or is this Chase?
I think it's me. You're probably seeing me.
Who's got blue hair?
I've got a body. Yeah. I'm not a wisp
more.
like the other two.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize there was more.
Are you onto the like portrait bit now?
Yes.
Yeah. It's good. I enjoy it. It gives me real vibes of too many hours spent on things like Habbo Hotel, like carefully crafting a tiny collection of pixels.
It reminds me of I can't remember what it was called now, but my mate was obsessed with this like online, like very anime version of Habbo Hotel. I can't remember what it's called, but I used to play it with him, and it's very much giving me those vibes.
So for what it's worth, my character, I put points into Wreck, which is just unleashing savage force. Put a point into Sway, which is kind of like influencing people. I've got a couple of points in Prowl, which I think I might have from the playbook that I picked. I also have a point in Finesse, Study, and Survey. So I'm kind of a little bit of an all-rounder, you know, been out on the streets. I can get by. I can use my silver tongue as much as I use my silver lockpicks. Probably not made of silver. Don't make your lockpicks out of silver.
I mean, look, if they're one use, it's an expensive hobby, but it's cool.
It's like, I broke another one. That's another 200 quid down the pen.
Well, whilst we're waiting for the other two to finish their character creation, let's have a little look at the crew as well, which I've made in advance. So you guys will be playing as assassins called the Forgotten Ghosts, which was randomly generated. We can open the crew sheet here and see the whole thing. And again, the crew is almost like a character in and of itself in Blades in the Dark. It's got its own experience points, its own stats and backgrounds, and all sorts of things that you can upgrade. And as you sort of grab more turf in the city and expand your holdings, you can also start to improve your sort of like general catch-all bonuses that everyone in the crew gets, rather than just one person upgrading their character sheet. So you can see here that we've got this sort of like, it's almost like a tech tree. We start in the middle, we can move out, grab a bit of turf, which leads to informants, then a hagfish farm, etc., etc., all giving different versions of bonuses for your characters. And we've also got contacts as well. So we've got Carlos, a bounty hunter, who is your contact as a crew, rather than just your friend or rival as a solitary person. So we're going to see more of those in the future. But as assassins, you are murderers for hire, which means you're going to be murdering someone in this questline.
Nice.
Perfect. Look, they don't call it Blades in the Dark for no reason. We're not butter and toast over here.
Yeah, it's not bags in the dark, is it? How are we doing, gang?
I just need to put an outfit on my portrait and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that you just start like a little naked pixel person, and I was like, oh no, I need to cover up. Very prude about it.
Hi.
It's cold out in Dustfall.
I bet it is cold in Dustfall.
Yeah, I bet it's freezing. But it's basically horrible London, isn't it? Even
Everybody
more horrible.
warming themselves around like whale blubber fires.
Okay. Very nearly there.
I was tempted. I almost revived Pilfers for this, but I figured
Oh, God.
let Pilfers lie.
Yeah, unfortunately, that whole questline was sort of centered around Johnny's character, so... In the end, anyway.
I think that might have been the last time I played Blades. Blades is a heck of a game. This is breaking news to no one, but Blades in the Dark, good RPG. Very good RPG.
Very good RPG.
Not played in a long time.
All right, I'm in.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, we have a Droog.
Hey.
Oh, I need to write my name.
I don't know if it's just because it's my character, so it's bigger on my screen, but I look enormous compared to. But I'm like 7 foot tall. I'm like Space Marine proportions.
Yeah, no, you look that way for me as well. You were just...
Everyone's similar size for me.
No, it looks like Matt really drank his milk.
Oh, Maddie, looking good.
I mean, I'm having to pick a name. I totally forgot about a name.
Well, I can look at your playbook now that you're good to go. We can see that little Pickeroo version of your character which you've made. So we've got Cassandra here, pronouns she, her. We can see Maddie's background, her heritage, her vice. Of course, she's picked weird. We can see that she's friends with a ghost and enemies with a demon. And that's just the kind of person that Maddie is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ballin' now.
All right.
Okay. So as we've finished up character creation, and that literally, we would have cut this down a little bit in the final edit, but that took us 25 minutes to generate everyone's characters. Everyone's in the same thing, able to see what everyone else is doing, able to help you along as the GM. So it's really, really quick and really, really sort of like welcoming to new users. And we're here in a cinematic just to describe the mission that you have picked up from one of your sort of information brokers. There is a certain factory owner who has, although, got a lot of friends in high places and made a lot of money over his time, has also generated quite a lot of enemies as well. And at least one of them has offered up a contract for his head. They want him out of the picture so that they can start to sweep up all of his territory. And what we can do as well, from the GM perspective, you see I've got all of this creation stuff here. I can look at my world map and make new levels and things like that. But if we clear out this backdrop, we can see the area that we're going to be doing our heist in here. So, score, is the word, as you can see at the top left. So the score is essentially it's the sort of like main meat of the missions that you play in Blades in the Dark. So you go out, you do a score, you come back and you do downtime. And that's the kind of gameplay loop. And as you go through, you'll level up and you'll get new abilities and all that kind of stuff. But the meat of the game is all set up in the score. So we're going to be doing... we've got a few options here for the group. Either an assault, a deception, a stealth, an occult, a social, or a transport mission. So this is like, pick a sort of category of how you want to tackle this job. So for example, an assault is very, very aggressive. You're going in, guns blazing, punching everyone in sight. Whereas, deception, perhaps you're trying to confuse your target into doing something that leads them away from the group. Maybe you're sneaking in sight unseen and leaving like a ghost, like you're playing a Hitman level. Or perhaps you're doing something a little bit weird and doing an occult. What kind of options are you looking at?
I mean, we gotta consider a cult since we have since we have Cass in the crew. That automatically makes that pretty.
I know what I like. Getting weird with it.
If you can tell me how in which you're using the occult to murder this man, then I'm well up for it.
I don't know how. Tell me if this is wrong in a Blades type thing. So like, one of the things I can do is call forth a ghost to obey me. I'm just assuming getting a ghost in and this strangling.
You're subletting our job out to a ghost.
This gig economy is tough. So the idea from your perspective, Maddie, is to go in, possess him, drag him out to somewhere quiet maybe, and finish the job?
Or maybe like make them like step into something in the factory. If we're going into the factory, make it look like an accidental death.
Oh like wow, via ghost.
So I will say, whilst you're in the sort of factory district, right now we're in Coleridge. Your target is in a place called the Boiler Room, and it's kind of as you can imagine, a giant boiler room that has been converted into a sort of pub. There's live music and there's gambling and drinking and all sorts of debauchery, and it's definitely not the place that you would go unless you're willing to stand up for yourself. So there could be some interesting machines lying dormant that you can shove this guy into.
Kind of in the ice machine. I mean, if I possess them, I could just get them to like go up and like punch the biggest guy in the bar, and then
that's very true.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well,
man, Chase,
I'm behind Maddie in Ghost Murder. Like I'm all down for this. Look, Grip's normal approach is just walk in with the biggest pipe possible and like bash him on the head, but he's down for like dinner and a show.
Oh yeah, I mean it'd be basically like that. It's rather than a big pipe, it's just you can suss out the biggest guy because you're already a big guy yourself, and then
just use yourself as a metric.
Just like sizing myself up next to people and then just like gesturing like this will do.
Yes, he's a big lad.
Chase, what do you reckon?
I mean, you mentioning machines, like I will be very adept at causing a little oopsie doodle if machines are involved, because I could sabotage anything. So if we want to like possess him to get him close, and then the conveyor belt messes up, the oven accidentally kicks on, or there's just an explosion and he's buried in debris, like I can make that happen.
Yeah,
I'm your Droog.
Good work, Agent 47.
Have fun.
Okay, so we're all happy with the plan here. We're gonna go occult. So whenever you pick something, you're going to provide a detail which covers what the general plan is. So remember, we're not going to be, providing every single thing that we're going to do up in advance. It's all going to be worked out in the flow. But your question that you have to answer is, provide the arcane method. So in this case, it's possessing the target. So we're going to pop that in the...
I can see you typing. That's fun.
I can't remember how to spell possessing, but that's fine.
I don't know. I was like, please don't make me type it.
It's just going to be one more S than you think.
Yeah. So every time we do anything in here, you've got little prompts of what you're supposed to be doing. So you can see, player, you need to choose your character's load. So this is what I was talking about earlier. You've got a certain amount of stuff that you're going to bring on you, which gives you more room to, make things magically appear from your pockets. However, the higher the load, the more obvious it is that you're out to do no good. So if you go with light load, you look, indistinguishable from any civilian. If you're going with medium load, people are a bit, cautious of you. Perhaps you're showing the hilt of a pistol, or you've got a little bit of armor on, or something like that that's making you look a little bit funny. You go in heavy load, you are geared up for a fight. Like you look like you could well be dressed like a riot police or something like that. Like you've got a lot of stuff on you.
Now I'm gonna say, Grip travels heavy everywhere, like big thick coat, like big guy, like just tall, broad, comes in like a wrecking ball, like just loaded to the nines. So
So from that point onwards, once you've selected your load, and that's in your playbook. So if we look at Grip's playbook, for example, if we go down to the character that we're looking for, so you can see that they're all at the door here, which you can move them around as we need to. But we can also look at the characters' playbooks. We've got all sorts of little bits that we can figure out, and whenever you're looking for a playbook, it's just this little like newspaper looking sheet down here. But there's all sorts of tools all over the place, so it's good to get a grip for how everything looks. So we can look at Grip's sort of little picker here, looking fine and dandy with the blue hair, and we can see that as we go to inventory, Matt has selected heavy load. So Matt, you're messing up a little bit already because you're selecting stuff in advance, which you don't have to do. So you can.
You have to.
So yeah, you just leave your tools
right,
open.
Yeah, you can do.
All you're telling me right now is how much load you've got. At which point, whenever something would be useful to you, you can then decide there and then, almost like we were doing a flashback. Oh, I happen to have this on me. So you only ever have to select something in the moment, which is very, very cool. So I would recommend not selecting anything just now. Because
that's quite right. I know. Look, Grip's a man that knows what he wants, and he wants demolition tools and a large weapon. Like,
oh
he doesn't go anywhere without it. Going to the bathroom, goes with demolition tools and large weapon. Like, it's happening.
First date, demolition tools and a large weapon.
Yeah.
So we're also going to do what's called an engagement roll that kind of tells us what state we're in as the mission starts. So, we're not going to be like, describing the approach to the building, talking about all of the different ways in which you had to enter in, all that kind of stuff. We're going to imagine what the plan is, and then we're going to drop right into the most interesting point as it's happening. And based on this engagement roll, we'll see how bad the plan has gone so far. So we're going to add and take away dice based on things that you have as an advantage and things like that. We can see that if we hover over the little information icon here, it gives us all the info that we need about what's happening. So this is a single operation with a particular goal whenever we do a score. Key elements include planning and engagement, flashbacks, actions, consequences, and teamwork. A particular goal usually falls into one of three categories: a criminal activity, seizing a claim, or a special mission or goal. So this is a criminal activity because we're doing a job. We're doing a hit.
We're doing a murder.
We're doing a murder. And we can add or minus our dice. So as we click on the little book next to this, we can explain all that we need to know about our engagement rolls. And we get to add dice based on any major advantages that we have. So would you say that this operation is particularly bold or daring? I would.
Yep.
Possessing someone to death is pretty bold and daring.
Murdering them in a crowded...
I think a bar fight is a very normal occurrence. I think that's not bold at all.
Yeah, it's true. This is
Maddie, you want it to be bold. It's good.
Yeah. Okay. Maddie, if anyone...
Yes, it is bold.
If anyone I know would be like, yeah, bar fight with ghosts, that seems normal. I would absolutely put that down to you. Like, yes.
Just a regular day in the life of Maddie.
Uh-huh.
Would you say that the plan's detail exposes a vulnerability of the target or hit them where they're weakest?
Yes, their brain.
Medically
speaking,
fleshy body.
Their soul.
Yeah, sure, why not? Have you got any friends or contacts that can provide aid or insight for this operation? So this is where your friends and rivals will come in.
I have a ghost who possesses people.
You do have a ghost who possesses people.
Are we going to literally be using your friend to possess our target? Maybe.
Look, we have good times. That's how we bond. We just go around like, wouldn't it be funny if we possess this guy?
We've got target as a lower tier, which is not. I believe he's actually going to be a higher tier, so we'll get to that in a second. And any district modifiers. So we can actually look at the district that we're in. We're not going to get too deep into this right now, just so we're not over-explaining everything that we do, so we'll just stick with the basics. But then we're also going to lose a die for any disadvantages we have. Oh my god, the storm is coming in over Brighton to make this even more atmospheric.
Ooh.
So, is the operation overly complex or contingent on many factors?
That's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Ghost.
Is it hard to possess someone? Because that's kind of all hinges on that.
Well, if you've got a ghost for a mate.
Yeah, if you've got a ghost mate whose whole thing is possessing, probably not.
Yeah.
You've got an expert on hand. God, I apologise to anyone listening at home who's just getting the storm on my end. Is the target strong against this approach or have any particular defenses or preparations? I don't think he's ghost-proof, as far as I'm aware. He's your regular average Joe. He's got a 2022 Kia Sorento. Enemies or rivals interfering in the operation. So this is the opposite of your friends who can help. Do you have any rivals on your character sheets who you think would be a particular thorn in your side?
I don't think that. My rival is a noble, so I don't necessarily think should be hanging out in this kind of like more industrial part of town.
That's fair.
It depends how high up our target is. Like, is there any chance that word may have got to them?
Yeah, pretty wealthy factory owner. So
so they could be connected.
Turned up to have a chat with them, you know.
Yeah, not mine.
Watch out for ghosts.
You probably don't want someone who recognizes you on this job. What do you reckon, Matt?
Yeah, I think for the sake of making it interesting, I reckon because that noble is aware of my, let's call them misdeeds, you know, alleged misdeeds. Word may have spread through the nobility that perhaps someone is putting out a hit, and perhaps like the crew that includes me is involved in some way. The Forgotten Ghosts, which is now seeming like a very good bit of like nominative determinism.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty good little bit of it's the Chekhov's gun of Assassin's Crew names.
Once the ghost turns up in Act 1, it will be fired in Act 3.
So we're going to remove a die because you've got a rival there who's going to make things a little bit tricky. We're also going to remove one because your target is of a higher tier. Once again, I'm not going to get into too much of the specifics of how of like all of the, you know, the nitty gritty of the system. We've played Blaze in the Dark on the channel before. Feel free to go and check those out. But tier systems basically just say if you are of a similar tier, you roll as normal. As tiers get higher or lower than you, it makes things trickier or easier to pull off. Because this is a very, very fancy man and he has probably very fancy protections around him, he's going to be a little bit more tricky to get to. So we are going to do our roll.
2 dice is not great.
Ooh, it's a risky.
We have rolled a 5, which is not
That's not too bad. Risky is like default, isn't it, in this game? It always sounds worse than it is.
Your average roll. You can even get a bit of John Harper merch that says the old risky standard.
I was going to say risky standard is how I live my life.
Which we'll get risky to as we do our first roll. But yeah, your position as you start, as you would expect it to be, is risky. You are out here trying to end someone's life. It's going to be a little bit tricky.
Via ghost. Let's not forget.
Perfectly normal day for me.
By the way, I love this flaming pipe skull.
Oh yeah,
that is the kind of centerpiece of this room.
There it is. That is the eponymous boiler of the boiler room. But we're also going to be having a little look around the kind of environment that you can expect. So I'm going to grab like an NPC here. I've got this healer over here that I can wrestle control of. So by right-clicking and hitting control, I can now just embody this healer who's just walking around. So, for example, we've got a little bar over here with some bartenders. We've got factory workers just sort of, you know, trying to shoot the breeze and take a load off. We've got a band playing by the boiler room. Massive centerpiece over here. We've got an assassin, which is interesting. And there looks like there's a guard who is blocking the actual entrance. So I think if everyone can please just use their WASD keys to just move their characters over to here where the guard is.
Oh, that's how you move.
I'm just going to get our characters out of the spotlight for now.
Oh, can I pick up this beer bottle on the way? Can I just grab a drink that someone has left unguarded as I walk by?
We're going to do it in the fiction, though, so try not to fiddle with anything too much yet.
No, I meant in the fiction.
Absolutely.
As I'm walking by, if there's just a beer that someone has left unguarded, even half drunk, Grip is the kind of guy that doesn't worry about the fact it might have cigarette butts in it, anything like that. Just like grabs it, starts necking it down, and it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, so you can see, as I said, I'm sort of embodying this healer here. I can left click and pick up, and then that will actually go in the hand of my character.
Yeah, I'm carrying a beer bottle now with also the large hammer on my back. Look, that's his party trick. He just cracks open beer bottles on like the head of the hammer.
So we open our score in media res. You've very calm and coolly walked into the boiler room. Perhaps have one of you been here before? Perhaps.
Oh yeah, Grip's been around.
Grip's a heavy drinker.
Whether he's on a job or whether he's just socializing, he's been here before.
Okay, so we've got maybe like a few locals who give you like a sort of stern nod. They're just like, oh okay, yeah, we've seen you before. Which sort of just alleviates some of the tension in the room. But as you know from being in the boiler room before, there's always tension. There's always a fight that's just waiting to break out. A bottle that's just waiting to be cracked against the side of the head of someone that someone didn't like. And for that reason, it's pretty common to see guards sort of blocking off the slightly more high-class clientele who come in. Now, the classes aren't going to be super high in the boiler room, but as far as your target goes, it's someone who's a man of means and can pay to be in the upper echelons of this particular part of society. I'm going to open up my panel here. Go to our music. You can see that we've got all sorts of things that I can put on here. But mainly we've also got some sound effects. So I wonder if we can find a little bit of bartending. All sorts of fun little noises in the background for you to focus on and things like that. As we're doing this, though, we're going to open up with the guard, who is probably about 6'2", built like a brick poop house, staring down at you from, his chin is just sort of like peering down over this kind of like collared cloak that you see he's wearing here in the image, and he's just staring at you, not saying a word, as you've tried to make your way up the stairs. Just looking at you with absolute disdain.
Damn, who's the face of the party?
I'm definitely more of a sneaky person. I was thinking maybe we should regroup somewhere. Where else?
Are you going to regroup in the corner?
Yeah.
They're like, we'll be back.
Just hold that thought.
Great first impression.
Hold on. All right, I'll follow Cass over.
Come to the corner. Hang out in the corner. Yeah.
So what are you chatting about in the corner of the boiler room? Now that the guard has sort of like just moved his attention away from you and is focusing on some kind of argument that's happening in the other corner of the room.
I think we should sneak our way up. I don't think we should. The guard's in the way. There's like some boxes and stuff down there. I'm pretty sure we could climb up. There's a pipe. We could climb up the pipe.
It's a fairly busy room. I mean, getting up there unseen is going to be quite a challenge.
Yes, that's.
I'm not much
true.
into sneaking, you know. I say, just kind of like gesturing at the various like things that are strapped around me and like the massive coat that I'm wearing.
Look up and down your huge body, and I'm like, yes, true.
I'm happy to play distraction, give you a window, but I don't think I'm sneaking anywhere like this.
I mean, Grip does have the sort of stature physique of one of these guards. We could find him a change of clothes. We might be able to pass him off as one of the hired hands.
Yeah. Could say that his shift's over, and the shift scheduling has been all messed up tonight, and he was meant to be the one guarding the steps.
I mean, yeah, if it gets the guard off, I think putting a man on the scene is it's good.
It's a plan I can run with. I think it's more likely than, me sneaking by.
Yeah, that's fair. How good if we could get a guard out somehow, or get them to go to the bathroom.
Well, like I say, I think we can try the old shifts over trick. See how it goes.
Yeah.
Can we flashback, Wills?
Yeah,
Sorry,
absolutely.
Maddie.
What would you like to flashback to?
Well, I think some way, if we'd known like what crew was going to be running protection, we could probably have prepared and come with a cloak or some kind of disguise.
Yeah, let's say. So I'm going to ask you to do a roll for this to see the sort of quality of the disguise that you were able to procure. So what kind of skill, if you look through your playbook and look at the skills that you have available to you, which one of those do you think is going to align with the sort of prep work that you would have done to grab that? So we've got insight, which are your sort of more sort of knowledge-based skills. So you've got gathering information and studying things, surveying the rooms, and tinkering, which Chase will be doing a lot of. We've got prowess, which is more your sort of physical expertise. So you've got finesse, which is your sleight of hand, classic rogue style stuff. You've got prowling, which is all about stealth. You've got skirmish, which is all about fighting, and you've got wreck, which is all about destroying things. And then down the bottom, you've got resolve, which is slightly more of your kind of mix of both like arcane and also like your resolve as a person. So you've got your ability to attune to spirits in the ghost field, which obviously Maddie's going to be doing quite a lot of. But you've also got things like command, which is to try and get obedience off of people, which could be quite good for you as you're this large, strong character, Matt. You've also got consort, which is a bit more of a sort of like your calling card of all the connections that you have and things like that. Maybe perhaps you've got certain connections in that gang that you could leverage. And then you've got sway, which is almost like your charisma. It's your ability to convince and to charm and to deceive people.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've got a point in sway. I've got a point in survey. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm largely around just smashing through things, being quite unsubtle. So I don't know if either of you two may be better equipped to...
I've got a point in survey, which I feel like is a good thing to help on this.
And I've got a point in study. So if we're talking about like actually creating or finding something that looks like the disguise, study might be the way to go.
Yeah, if we're going to be doing like a sort of flashback of you procuring things, one thing that you can do is you could leverage the actual stuff that you have. So for example, if you go into your, I think it's in your bio tab, which is where your coin would be, you should have a little bit of cash that maybe you could sort of like throw at someone in exchange for stuff. You've also got cash in your sort of like crew sheet, which is the collective sort of resource that you all have, where you could always, sort of leverage your level as a crew. So right now your crew level's pretty low, so it wouldn't be very good. Mm-hmm. But you could sort of leverage your reputation around the world to try and goad people into giving you things and stuff like that. But I think for now, let's focus on your stats and think of the kind of thing you would use to grab one of these.
Well, I've got a point in finesse, and I'm gonna abstract.
You gonna try to nick one?
No. I'm gonna abstract that and say, Grip's just very good at sewing. Like he's a dab hand at sewing. He could put something together. So if you two are able to find out kind of use your respective skills to get like a blueprint or something like that, and then we can get the fabric somehow. I'm sure we've got connections between us. Like I can knock up a kind of disguise that almost matches the guards.
All right, tell you what then. Give me a finesse roll. So are you gonna click on your little dice icon next to finesse on your character sheet?
Roll dice. Oh, I can do it straight from the character sheet.
Yeah, which is very fun.
Very cool.
That makes sense. Finesse. I did a roll.
So as we come over on the right hand side, we've got our action here. So Grip can sort of see the points that we're already getting from Grip's stats. We can choose which player is doing it, all that kind of stuff. And then as the GM, I'm going to set your position and your effect. So if you're a dab hand at sewing, I'm going to say this is going to have like a great effect.
Look, he's done it since he was young. He was always just a big fan of textiles. He knits, he sews, he purls, all of that kind of stuff.
This is a control position as well. This is well before the thing has started. This is something that you're familiar with and you're at home doing it. You're not in any kind of danger. If you want to grab some assistance from someone else, anyone can click that assist teammate button to try and give you some help. And that's going to cost a little bit of stress in exchange. I think it's usually two stress to push yourself, which allows you to get basically 1 die extra than you already have. But to help someone, to give your help to someone else, only costs 1 stress. So it's always easier to help each other out.
And stress is basically health, right?
Yeah, stress is like your action points, let's call it.
We already pretty much did the sort of narratizing of how either one of us could help. Like if Droog wants to help, I'm doing the studying. I can give you tips on like how to make this look as like close to verisimilitude as possible.
Nice.
Well, it looks like Droog is assisting here because we've got an added d6. So Droog is going to give you a little bit of help. We can see the dice sort of like pulling at the bottom here. And then Matt, you should have the option as well if you want to push yourself to grab 1 extra die if you need that help. You can also, instead of spending your stress, you could accept a devil's bargain.
I think given the situation, like there's no need to push myself here. Like it's fairly relaxed. Like I don't need to strike a deal with the devil in order to sew this. Like I got it under control, you know. Yeah.
Okay, up to you. Hit roll. Ouch.
Hey, nice.
That's no good.
So your highest result was a 3. We can expand that to give like a more sort of narrative description of what's happening. So in this case, it says you falter. Press on by seizing a risky opportunity, or withdraw and try a different approach. So you can at any point sort of like exchange your position for effect as well. So let's say you're in a control position, but your effect was limited. So maybe you're in like a very well hidden position, but the lock you're trying to break is incredibly complicated, so it's taking you a long time. You could become a little bit worse positioned, make yourself a bit more risky in exchange for having a better effect, because maybe you're being really loud and crass and like just trying to break through the thing, but it's making people more aware of your presence. In this case, you failed, but because it's a flashback, I'm going to say that you're pretty sure that this design is exactly what it should look like. But we'll
no
see
reason
how
to question it. The intel was good.
Yeah, you look great.
Yeah, no questions here.
Okay, so
he's like impressively showing you. He's like really happy with some of the particular stitching, and he's just like, "Look at this! You don't see this every day. This kind of like fine needlework."
Like feeling it. Oh my god, this spray fell for quite a lot. Wow, nice.
So we'll have you sort of change costume a little bit. You've got your sort of like big cloak. You're pretty sure it looks pretty similar to the guy that you were looking at earlier. You've got it all equipped. What would you want to do with it on?
I think. Well, so what was the plan? We're gonna just go up and say, "Hey, shifts over." Like try and get him to bugger off, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just remember, Grip. If you just act like you're supposed to be here, ain't no question. They'll believe you're supposed to be there.
I am supposed to be here.
Yeah.
See,
it's exactly
acting, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
For just a different reason.
Become a different person.
To be the god, you must think like a god.
I'm here to make coin and stand and look, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Let's see that scowl. Give us a scowl, Grip.
His face doesn't change, but it still continues to be a scowl. It's just like a permanent etch of a scowl.
You know what? No notes. Absolutely perfect.
That's what I thought.
Matt, I've put a little shadow cloak next to you, which you can use as your...
Oh, thank you. I will. I've picked it up. I don't know how to put it on.
That's fine.
I'll just hold it in my hand. It's fine.
He shoved it into the beer glass.
So, okay. Are you walking over to the guard?
Yes.
I notice you have an entire sledgehammer on your back as well, which I'm enjoying.
I look at Cat and Droog first, just to get their approval, because despite him being like this hulking figure of man, he's also a little bit nervous. So it's just like, is that the plan? Is that good? All right,
we got your back.
Perhaps will squeeze your hand with like a very cold touch.
Like clammy touch of the grave.
Yeah.
I've got this. I've got this.
It was meant to be comforting.
Yeah.
I've got this. I can do this. Acting. Right. It strolls over to the guard. He's obviously put on the cloak. He's like, all right, mate. Shifts up.
So the guard sort of looks over you. And luckily the cloak is hiding your iconic blue hair. And I think that's basically like the only thing that he really noticed about you in the first place. With that cloak hiding it, it does sort of seem like he's like, wait, do I know you? No, probably not. And he's like, I don't remember someone supposed to be coming and picking me. I've only been working for 3 hours now?
Yeah, well, the boss, they said, just give him the night off. He seems like a good chap. So, it's good working benefits, isn't it? We get them when we're guards.
All right, Matt, do you want to give me
Thank God for unions, huh?
Union job. Hell yeah.
Sorry, what am I doing? I was too busy cracking jokes.
I said, do you want to give me a roll? What do you want to try and roll for this?
I suppose this would be sway, wouldn't it?
It certainly sounds like one, yeah. So the actual thing that you choose to do is up to you, right? As long as you can make sense of it, as long as it makes sense in the narrative, like the skill that you're using, there's no hard set. You are doing a convince, and therefore you have to use sway. You could equally do one of the other options available to you and just sort of like explain to me how that works. But based on what you give me, I'm going to then give you your effect. So in this case, sway seems like the most obvious way to convince someone to do something. So we're going to have that be, you're already in a risky position. I would normally give this a standard effect, but I think that like the weird dodgy cloak that you've made that doesn't quite look right is making this a little bit more off-putting for the guard, and it's definitely the thing that he's noticing the most. So I'm going to say that your effect is currently going to be limited.
I think maybe I keep tugging it slightly, like the proportions are slightly off, or the actually no, that wouldn't happen. He's too good of a sewer.
Yeah.
But maybe the material is slightly itchy.
Yeah, he's like, did they really use this type of fabric?
It's really
strange.
It's really hot in here, isn't it? With the big, flaming skull in the corner. I didn't expect this. It's not quite breathable enough for my liking.
So if you want, you can sort of trade your position for some better effects.
So what? I would become desperate.
You would become desperate, but you would have a standard effect instead.
No, I think risky feels about right. I'm not into a corner yet. He's a little bit nervous. The cloak is maybe not as good as it could be, but he's feeling in control.
Okay. Does anyone want to have any assistance whatsoever?
I don't.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Maddie. I don't know. We gave him the thumbs up, a little clammy touch on the hand. I don't know how much more we can do for Grip at this point.
Yeah.
Occasionally, he just looks over, like if the guard is looking away, he just looks over at you both. He's giving like a little thumbs up. Like, it's going well.
Matt, do you want to push yourself?
Yeah, you know what? I think in this circumstance, he's like the crew's dependent on me. Like, I've got to do good for Cass and Droog. They're waiting on me. I've got to give them the window. So he's going to push himself and take 2 stress.
Okay. So we're gonna go in with 2 dice. Is everyone happy?
All right. Yeah.
I don't know about happy, but let's roll.
All right.
Bear in mind, each die is a 50-50 for at least a partial success. So.
Hey.
A mixed success is... Oh, no, that's fine. I was looking at that big failure at the top sort of confused me a little bit there, but no, we're all good. A mixed success. So you do it, but there's a consequence. Maybe you suffer harm, a complication occurs, you have reduced effect, or you end up in a desperate position. So I think after you give him the spiel about, the boss said that I need to do this, etc., etc. He's like, well, all right, yeah, no, I guess that makes sense. I'll tell you what, you take over. I'm going to go have a chat with the boss and just make sure everything's all good,
Oh, sure. Do you really want to bother him? Like, he's busy doing, admin. It could be the kind of thing where he suddenly decides he didn't want to give you the time off anymore,
Listen, sometimes I've done stuff without his approval before and it's not gone well. So if you don't mind, he sort of pats you on the shoulder and briskly walks off. I'm going to start a new clock.
When he pats me on the shoulder, it has the very distinct sound of like someone like slapping a side of meat. Like it's that kind of like
a thump.
Yeah, and I don't move at all. It's just like dense wood.
Wow.
Right, we're going to start a new clock called the Guard Returns. I'm going to give this let's say there's 6 segments. Perhaps he's having to walk across town to find him. So as I create that clock, you should all be able to see it in the top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that is essentially a timer. It's a countdown until something real bad happens. So every time you sort of waste time or anything like that, I'm going to start adding to that clock because we're running out of time before your cover is blown, essentially.
Okay.
Right, what's the plan, gang? I'm just gonna move this guard out of the way.
Yeah, that's
off he pops.
I'm gonna take his position because obviously, if anyone looks over, they might want to be a guard. But I'm giving like 2 thumbs up to Droog and Cass. Like, I did it.
I'm just like kind of like walk over and it's like, wait, Grip, he went the wrong way.
Oh well,
he's supposed to walk away, not up to the boss.
It said something about double checking about holiday, but the window's there,
Okay.
Jeez, let's get going. Okay, so yeah, what is next? Like, what we need to? We got rid of the guard. Now we just.
So could we maybe do a flashback of where I asked my ghost friend to like meet us here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. Yeah, I think like that we've established that like that is the plan. So you've made your preparations. In your possession, Maddie, you should have something called a ghost mask or something thereabouts?
I do.
Let's have a little look at your playbook so we can see it in your inventory. Your ghost mask, where is it?
My fine spirit mask.
Fine spirit mask, that's the one, sorry. It's an arcane item that allows the trained user to see supernatural energies in great detail. Also affords some measure of protection against ghostly possession. First of all, each spirit mask is unique. What does yours look like?
Ooh. I think mine is like a death mask that has been like cracked in half, and I've just got the top of it, so I'm wearing like someone else's like death mask on top.
Wow, that's cool as hell.
I was going to ask what makes it strange and disturbing to see, but it's literally a thing that you put on corpses, so I reckon that one explains itself. So you can see that sort of equipped, and you can move that around your person as well. You can sort of choose different places to have it appear. Yeah, you can resize it and all that kind of stuff. It's very exciting. But as you sort of like slip up your ghost mask, what is this spirit? Describe it to me. Is it like a, does it have like a human form? Has it become quite warped over time? Do you know who it was as a person?
I think this is a childhood friend, because I have my character that they have been chatting to ghosts since they were kids, and I think even then it was really old, and Cass doesn't really know who it belongs to, but she kind of like gets slightly bad vibes from it, but they also get on really well, and they've been there for each other for a while, doing fun possessing pranks and stuff like that.
Yeah, you actually see Nyrix is currently hiding behind one of the band on stage, and you can see the face of this like lute player is like he's feeling a little bit like every now and again he's playing like a bomb note, and then the other two are sort of like looking over like, what the hell are you doing, man? We're playing live. We practiced this morning.
My ears will perk up. I'm like, my friend is near. People are unhappy.
Yeah, you're looking very jovial for the other two in the group, which is a weird contrast to the half death mask that you're wearing.
It's a big smile underneath it.
Okay, are you grabbing Nyrix?
Yes, I will like creep behind the back of the stage and reach out to hold their hand, and then bring them over to hang out.
The face sort of like rotates, and you see this like jawless entity who is just sort of like side-eyeing you and like rotating her head in strange ways and looking at you. But it seems to sort of follow your lead, almost like you're playing some kind of game.
Yeah, that checks out. I've played a lot of games, a little hide and seek. Okay.
Well, the stairs are open.
Yeah, I think just send them. Do we know which of them up there it is? That's the big question.
You've received like your sort of dossier of information about this man. You're infinitely familiar with all of his sort of like regular haunts and the businesses he owns. This is a man called Finnegas Bilge. You can see him wearing this sort of like very fancy cloak and bowler hat. He is currently playing some kind of card game with a man who looks very well dressed but also very dangerous.
Ooh. I'll turn to the other two. Like, so I say we're ready to possess. The dangerous guy, do you think maybe we could just punch him and he'd be mad about it? Or do we want to find someone else?
That does check out. People I've punched do tend to be quite upset.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
What do you reckon, Droog?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of chaos, throw off a scent. Who knows what's going to happen? If we start a bar fight and he dies in the process, I think that's just a job well done. Nobody traced it back to us.
Yeah, job's done is job done, you know?
And if they start kicking off up there, it would make sense for you as a guard to have to run up and sort things out. And maybe if you're swinging your metal pipe around and it hits the wrong person,
accidents happen. You're big guy, big weapon,
Yeah.
Big swing.
That's right. And he's just like getting himself back into character because he slipped out for a little bit, but he's psyching himself back up, going method with it again. Yeah.
You start thinking of all the doors that you could protect.
All right. Well, for now, I'll stay down here because that's what a guard would do. But if things are about to kick off, give me a sign.
Okay.
What should I look for?
I will blink one eye, and then the other, and then one, and then the other, and then the other one again, and then the first one again, and then both.
Oh, so the classic sign then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's one eye, then the other, then the other, then the other, then the other, then both. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna just sit on this little stool, pretending I'm listening to the music, and therefore you'll be able to see me staring at you if I start blinking.
Wheels, we saw where the guard left, right?
He went out the front door, yeah.
Okay, can I go in position? I want to position myself closer to the front door to sort of like be post.
Okay, yeah, that should be fine. There's like a sort of blacksmith who's just chilling after a bit of work. Maybe you can go have a little light conversation with him just to act natural, blend in.
Perfect, we can talk shop. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He looks down and sees your sooty hands. He's like, oh, tradesman, are you?
That's right. No, listen, the sulfur trade leaves your mark on you. You know, you deal with that stuff for too many years, and hands are never the same.
Yeah, don't I know it, mate? Don't I know it?
Oh, that sounds so sweet. This is like the start of a real friendship.
Yeah, you start talking about your favourite weights of hammer, and as this is happening, you notice upstairs that Bilge and his counterpart across the table are sort of like raucous and laughing about like a hand that seemed to have gone awry for Bilge. He pushes like a heavy load of poker chip looking items over the table to the other, but he seems very sort of like jovial, like he's not really too bothered about losing money.
That's what he thinks. Wait till he's possessed.
Okay, Maddie?
I'm gonna tell my little friend Nerix to slip up the stairs. Or go around to the pipe and then slip up and possess.
Okay, so you are trying to control the ghost right now. Which means that you're probably, and feel free to change my mind, I would say you're probably doing an attune right now. Tuning to the spirits in the ghost field, channeling electroplasmic energy, perceiving and communicating with ghosts, and understanding spectrology. That sounds like the kind of vibe of the action that you're doing.
Yeah, I'd accept that.
So you're trying to push this ghost into position to enact the plan that perhaps you've talked about beforehand?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to then give me an attune roll?
Okay.
So I'm going to say that your position right now is, as you said, it's risky. There is like a sort of, there's the pressure of the guard coming back. There's the slightly uneasy atmosphere inside the bar. You're a little bit too far from the target to get like a good look at what the ghost is going to be doing. But I'm going to say that your effect is going to be standard. You've got like whilst you've got a decent range that you need to look out for. He's distracted. He's not defended anyway against this kind of attack. So you're going to have like a pretty good go at things. Does anyone want to help in any way?
Can we help with flashbacks, or is this just like in the moment help?
If you want to flashback to something that you've prepped in exchange for helping, I'm happy with that.
My one thought is like, Maddie, do you use any sort of like certain, like, is there like a component, like a spell component that helps you with attunement, or that could make that effect a little bit more consistent?
Yeah.
Because if so, I could have like created one of those things. Like if it's like a certain like sort of ore material or like alloy, like that could be something I could have tinkered together in preparation for this, since we know we were going to do some possession.
I reckon maybe some kind of chemical she breathes in that kind of makes her kind of sense of the real world and the spirit world kind of cross over a bit, mesh a bit better.
Right, dissolve the mundane, so you sort of like begin to fade in. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think I could. I want to do a flashback where I like we work together to sort of concoct some sort of like smelling salt-esque stuff that cracks the court and just sort of like wafts under her nose, and we see the eyes like roll in the back of the head.
Yeah. A little bit of blood drips down my nose. Yeah.
The veins start popping out in the corner. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Do you want to then? Why don't you give me a little tinker roll before we do this attune then, Chase?
Will do.
Just to see what you've been up to, what kind of concoction you've created.
Okay, so I'm just going to tinker roll again for you. So would this be standard, since this was the background?
Yeah, we'll call this a risky standard because you're working with dangerous chemicals here and forces beyond your control. But we'll see what happens.
Okay, so let's just be a standard 2 roll for this, right?
Yeah, a Let's do it.
Okay.
Nice, a full success.
Nice.
Love it.
So yeah, I'm gonna say that Maddie, in your possible inventory, you have what's called arcane implements. I'm going to say that you're able to grab that without affecting your load, because essentially it's been smuggled in for you by Droog, which means you're not having to like find a pocket to hide it in or anything like that. Droog just sort of like gives you a knowing nod and just sort of throws it over. You perhaps get like a big inhale of it, and it improves your sort of senses in the other world.
Feeling good. All right, tune roll back on it.
So have you given assist now as well, Chase?
Yep, assist in.
And I'm going to say that your effect has now become great, Maddie.
Ooh.
Nice.
Speaking to the ghost.
I've just realised I need to do. That's fine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was like, oh, should I be doing that? Okay,
Over to you.
first roll. Here we go.
Wow.
That is a crit. More than
Critical
1/6 on the roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love ghosts.
So, yeah, you breathe in the sort of like electroplasmically tinged chemicals that were passed over to you. You feel them like sting and burn on the inside of your nostrils. But as it enters into your lungs, there's like almost like a purple tint across the room. And suddenly, even without your mask equipped, you start to see the spirit world interacting with yours. And interestingly, Nyrix appears a little bit more human to you now as well. And as you bring that ghost mask up, almost like without even needing to say a single word, Nyrix just sort of seems to understand exactly what you want from her. And she moves over to Finnegas to just slide into what feels like a new dress, you know? Just, you know, slipping over the shoulder. You see the expression on Finnegas's face is like slightly confused and maybe a little bit nauseous. He goes a little bit white. Matt, from your perspective, you can hear a little bit of their conversation. You hear the fancily dressed and slightly dangerous man across the table from him go, "You all right there, friend? You look a little bit ill." At which point, Finnegas replies with a voice that you would assume is slightly more high-pitched than what would come from a man of his stature. Just say, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine." And then you just see like a hand just being lifted up by the man as he just sort of curls up a fist. And he just says, "In fact, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling like I want to get into some trouble, you know?" At which point the man across the table is like, "Yeah, no, of course. Why exactly you raising that fist there, friend?" Finnegas then thrashes the table to the side. A sort of slightly scantily clad woman who was pocketing a few of the coins on the table to the side just sort of like leaps backward up against the railing on the side of this platform. And you can see the table just like crash into the wall. At which point Finnegas steps across and just clean uppercuts his fellow player right in the jaw. And suddenly, like, the music just with, like, a bomb note and just a cask of silence just go, and then everyone around just, like, feels dead silent. There's, like, this pregnant pause as everyone tries to understand what the hell just happened. You see him just sort of, like, lying on the ground, looking like completely dazed. There's a little bit of blood just sort of dripping out of his cheek. And everyone is just sort of waiting for something to happen. Just confused at what the hell just went on. I'm going to add a mark to the guard returns clock just to see that time has progressed a little bit. But there is a moment here of silence where you can sort of like decide on an action to take immediately.
Ooh. Do I blink? Do we send the guard up? Is the? I feel like I'm just waiting to see how this plays out. Honestly, actually.
I mean, I guess I figured our plan would be like, as this happened, Grip, wherever we have him planted, would like run to the scene, because that's what a guard would do as violence breaks out. Like you need to keep your cover. So I imagine Grip would. Where I am, I'm probably just gonna like try to react naturally. I imagine that this caused a ruckus that everyone in the bar is now paying attention to.
Yeah, there's like a sort of unruly atmosphere building in the room. Everyone's just like, oh, it's punching time, is it? But nothing has quite kicked off yet. Like the fuse is very slightly burning on the powder keg, just waiting to reach its target.
I think all I'm going to do is try to like reach for the nearest full glass, just to have something at hand for distraction or for entertainment, depending on how this breaks.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, I think like Grip is so used to this kind of like ruckus that he doesn't really react to the initial like punch and clattering of stuff. But happens to look over, looks back to Cass, and maybe even if she doesn't do the signal, maybe she just blinks, and he's suddenly like, "Oh, I'm on." So he starts to kind of dash up towards the scene. This another guard, the character here?
No, there's someone who's been sort of like drinking away from the ruckus. He's sort of like looking over in confusion. It looks like he knows these two, and he's just like, "What, Finnegas, mate? You all right? What's going on?" Finnegas at this point is starting to lurch towards him. You can see like his arms have been like comically placed out, like he's like flexing his muscles as he just like stomps towards the bounty hunter.
Can Grip maybe step in to kind of try and usher Finnegas away, to work in tandem with Kat and Nyrix here, to be like, "You've had enough," like almost start to walk him out in a way that then will put him like down on the main floor, closer to implements of death.
Let's say you're trying to give some like a sort of, slightly convincing performance here, right? Because I'm assuming you don't want the fight to break out up here, at which point it'd be quite difficult to get Finnegas away.
No, if anything, I guess now I'm trying to diffuse the fight with Finnegas specifically, in terms of being like, "Hey, it's time to leave," like to lead him down to somewhere where we can basically ambush or work our death.
Yeah, there's actually there's something interesting, Matt, that you notice as you look into the like cartoonishly angry eyes that Finnegas is currently like flying across it at his.
That's some nice tailoring on that hat.
Yeah, he
fine stitch work.
He flashes you a glance, and it's strange. You can almost see like two versions of him. One is shocked, the other is having a great time, and you can't really tell which is which. It's almost like the facial expression is like warping in front of your eyes. From that, whilst you don't know a whole lot about ghosts or the arcane, like you get the feeling that perhaps Nyrix isn't in complete control here. Like Finnegas might still have some kind of agency.
Okay, so yeah, I think I want to work kind of to subdue what there is left of Finnegas in there, and to work with like Nyrix to just like get him out somewhere vulnerable, get him towards Cass and Droog, so that we can then work together. But basically, get him down from this platform. And use this as like the chance to be like, "All right, it's time to let's get you some water, shall we?" Like nice glass.
What would you say this is? Like a sway?
Yeah, it's probably a sway. I'm swaying more than I expected to. And I put all my points into breaking things. But yeah, I think it's probably a sway more than anything else.
Okay, all right. Let's have a little look at how it goes then. I'm going to say, yeah, this is definitely a risky position here. I'm going to say you've got a standard effect. Is anyone going to try and help? Or, Matt, are you going to try and push yourself at all?
I could try and help and try and push Nyrix to do what Grip says. Would that make
you're
sense?
noticing that, like, whilst Nyrix is technically under your control, she's still, like, having a bit too much fun with this.
Yeah.
So maybe trying to sort of rein her in a little bit would be helpful.
I think I'm like, there's more fun downstairs, but yeah. Okay, I'll try assist.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, Matt?
Yeah, I'll push myself again because again, like this is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think he's still riding high on the fact that the guard, like misleading, went so well that he's kind of like almost getting a little too overexcited, like almost overhamming it a little bit in the role of the guard that he's now playing.
Do you want to accept a devil's bargain, or do you want to push for stress?
Ooh.
Let's go for a devil's bargain. That'll be more fun.
Okay,
also, there's a ghost involved, so I feel like it's getting occulty now.
Yeah. So I'll present you the stakes essentially, and you get to choose whether or not you want to avoid it by spending stress. So you accepting without it, are you? Okay.
Correct. No, you got to hear the deal first.
No. It sounds like a laugh. Also, his vice is the weird, so I think that once a ghost is involved, that's also just powering him through to get quite overexcited.
I won't tell you the effect then. No worries.
Yep.
That's your choice.
All right.
Okay, let's give us a roll.
God, if this works.
It's a success.
Hey.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, so with a little bit of tugging from Kat in the background, you manage to sort of like pull Finnegas away. The sort of bounty hunter looking fellow, the guy who's like, you know, he's got like you assume he's some kind of bounty hunter. He's got like sort of shackles on his side. He's got like a rope around his chest, and he looks like he's been in a few fights before. He looked almost as if he was going to step in, but at which point someone looking like a guard turning up and taking him away, he sort of like, he went, okay, all right, fair enough. And it seems to have diffused the situation in the room a little bit as Finnegas sort of like starts to follow you down and around to the stairs.
Right. I'm just like, as we go, I'm just kind of patting him on the back, like, come on, let's get you a nice glass of, you know, of clear. Like, we'll sort you out. So I think now I'm probably leading him across the main hall.
Mm-hmm.
But I think around here, I'll try and slow him a little bit because this feels like the most vulnerable position to be in.
Well,
and now I'm looking at like Cass and Droog.
Let's do a little fortune roll, shall we?
Ooh.
I'm going to say we're just going to roll 1d6 and we're going to see what the rest of the people in the crowd are doing.
Okay.
In the corner, sort of by the bar, you see there's a couple of factory workers here, sort of stood over a couple of drinks. They've been watching Finnegas quite intently. And one of them picks up a bottle, throws it at Finnegas, just narrowly missing him. Maybe like hits him in the shin. And crashes against the floor and shattered glass around. And he shouts, "Bigwig scum! Get out of the pub!" At which point, again, there's like a little bit of a look. There's like you see in everyone's eyes, like the kind of sheer kind of like, oh yeah, I'm so ready for a fight. Just I don't want to be the person who starts it, but if someone starts a fight, I'm so in. What is everybody doing in exchange?
I think Greg would now look at Cass and Droog and be like, do I go for it? Like he's almost like a dog waiting for the treat, kind of like just vibrating, like sat, but vibrating with excitement, like just waiting to be given the instruction.
I'll be blinking so erratically. I'll like.
I'm just flickering all over the place.
Jerking a thumb over towards Cass, like, there's the signal.
All right. I think he gives a nod to Cass and Droog and is like, they can handle the target. Like, now I'm just going into the fray. Like, it's time to cause distraction again. So yeah, I'll probably just work my way over to him and just lump him.
Are you with a fist or with a weapon?
With this bench that's behind me.
Nice.
All right, sick. Right, okay. Tell me about the skill you want to use for this.
I think it would just be full. What's the one that's force?
So you've got a couple of options here.
Wreck. It's a wreck.
Wreck is to destroy things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've also got like skirmish, which is more of a sort of, it's brawling, it's combat.
So I'm wrecking.
Wrecking.
This is absolute destruction mode because I'm just trying to cause distraction.
I'm gonna say the fact that you're twatting this guy over the head with a bench. This is gonna have great effect. We're gonna we'll keep it risky for now, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I'm pushing myself because again, I've been given the go ahead. Like he's overexcited by the fact there's a ghost involved. Like I played the role of guard really well. Like now comes the fun.
Okay. Anyone need to help?
I would love to help, but I'm trying to think about how I could help.
You can always
Could I
throw
help?
something out.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was gonna flip the bench near me, but I don't know if that helps the atmosphere. But yeah, I could just chuck something.
I did say I picked up this glass, so I might say something to it. I was just like, this is a workers' pub, no bosses allowed, and just huck my glass at him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Add a little assist there from you then, Chase. And let's see what happens. To mixed success.
What, 2-2?
Okay.
Okay. With an almighty thud, and the crack of wood splintering, you bring this bench down straight onto the skull of one of the factory workers, who immediately just collapses back into the table behind them. It's like a scene at a WWE, just fully just split in half. Anyone with
tables, ladders,
gimmicks,
benches.
Exactly. All we need is a couple of chairs.
My God, is that Grip's theme music playing?
The referee is like, no! And as this happens, the other person right next to them sort of positions on their back foot and readies a swing directly at your head. And as this happens, the entire bar just erupts into chaos. People are throwing punches left, right, and center. Tables are being collapsed and glasses are being chucked all over the room. You can see the bar staff are just like, oh, for God's sake. They just get under the bench that they're serving.
It feels like this is the kind of place where this could happen on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
They must have their process in place.
Yeah,
One of them
it's going to happen at some point. It's just a matter
Wednesday
of when.
nights are just the worst.
Upstairs, the guy who got uppercutted by Finnegas, or at least by the hand of Finnegas, suddenly sort of shoots up and is still a little bit wobbly on their feet. They took a real sucker punch, but they lean over the actual. Oh, God, I need to rotate them a little bit there. But they lean over the sort of banister that's above the sort of area that you were originally up there when you were with them, Cass. Not Cass, sorry. Why do I keep forgetting Grip? That's the one. There we go. When you were up there, they're leaning over the banister there, having a look over at this chaos, and they're just like, Finnegas, what the hell? What have you done? And they're staring directly at Finnegas, waiting for a response. At which point, I think Finnegas turns around, and again, with that slightly high-pitched voice, is just like, I'll do whatever the hell I want! And again, it's just chaos in here.
Could I try and go on my hands and knees and crawl over, pick up a bottle, and sit behind Phineas and try and chuck it at the guy as if maybe Phineas threw it in the chaos?
Yeah, what do you want to roll for that?
Yeah, let's have a look what I can be doing for that.
I would say it depends. Are you
trying
trying
to prowl?
I would. I'd argue for prowl.
Are you trying to sort of convincingly do it? What's the approach?
I think
because it could be a finesse where you're using sleight of hand, you're using trickery to try and get your way.
I think as long as
it could
I'm not seen, I think I just want to sneak down. I just want the bottle to come from the direction of Phineas, and so maybe they're angry enough that they're kind of it doesn't matter if he actually did it or not. They'll get mad at him.
Okay, yeah, let's call
this
a
prowl.
I'm just doing a little refresh because mine blacked out a little bit. Okay, yeah, we're good.
Maddie, I love your big glass of water. I saw you grip it with both hands earlier, just like sipping like a little kid.
The risky work.
All right, then, Maddie. Let's call this a prowl roll and let's see what you've got.
Okay.
Again, any help from anyone?
I've still got some stress left. Like, listen, I could be helping.
I could push myself. Also, I got a lot of stress to work with.
Fair enough. Yeah, go ahead.
This is the beauty of the one shot. You don't have to worry about managing.
Exactly. I think I will push myself by, with all my might, to really try to throw that glass.
Yeah, really clock him in the head. I'm gonna say, yeah, this is a risky standard. And Chase, did you want to help in some way?
Yeah, I might I might try to get the gang leader's attention because he's like right above me, and I'm sort of down here. So I might just like hug another glass and say something like, "Hey, shut your trap!" and just like hug a glass. I'm not aiming for him, but I kind of want to just like smash up against the manager. So maybe he like looks down for a second, and doesn't see where the glass came from.
Nice.
Okay, add your assist, and let's do the roll. 4 dice.
Ooh, feeling good.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's a success.
Nice.
Yeah. You see him sort of like lean over the banister to see who threw the initial glass, and then like from the direction of Finnegas, another one just crashes into his temple. He sort of like flies back a little bit, and he's like, "What the hell is going on in this place? Finnegas, I swear to, I will," and then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a pistol.
Yeah. I'm crawling away.
He aims it at Finnegas, and he's just like, "Give me one reason I shouldn't pull this trigger." Anyone?
This this feels like we just sort of let Nyrix do what she does best and continue to instigate.
Yeah, I could try and push Nyrix a bit more, just say something rude.
Or maybe at this point you let the reins go.
Yeah.
You just like, just take the kid off the leash and let her run directly into the pond.
Yeah.
Let's call it a fortune roll.
Okay, yeah.
All right, she's already in a pretty good position, so I'm gonna give her an extra die. Let's see what happens. 2 dice.
Ooh.
Okay.
So yeah, he says, "Give me one good reason I shouldn't pull this trigger." At which point, the voice of Finnegas just says, "Well, if you weren't such a little bitch, you would have done it already." At that point, the blast of a gun rings out around the pub, and a bullet lodges straight in the center of the chest, right in the solar plexus, and Finnegas' body just collapses. At which point, your ghostly friend just sort of sweeps out of the body, and it's sort of like screeching a little bit, and I think she felt the pain of it. She doesn't look very happy, and she sort of like just like shrieks and flies away before you get a chance to say anything. But Finnegas is now lying in a pool of blood that is starting to seep out of his chest. And at this point, like there are people like coming in from the outside to see what the hell's going on. Like it's just pure chaos. And Finnegas is just sort of like confused. He's just like, I don't know what. He's confused at what the hell's just happened. He feels like he wasn't in control of his own actions, and he's starting to lose his breath.
Well, I thought we need to get out before the guard comes back, but we need to finish the job.
I was about to say, though, we need to make sure this kill is done, which is... okay, so how are the other patrons sort of reacting in the moment? I know we were already like sort of at a boiling point. Are people starting to like run around at the sound of the gunshot?
Yeah, there's like the gunshot caused some chaos. I think upstairs the bounty hunter fellow realizes what's just happened, sprints over, and is trying to like wrestle the gun off of the gang leader figure. This fancy guy who just shot your target, and he's just trying to talk sense into him, like, calm down. You know what you're doing. You know who you just shot. There is also there's a commoner who immediately rushes over to the body of Finnegas and starts picking his pockets. And just like sees opportunity and didn't waste a single second.
Queen.
I want to like run over to Grip and just sort of like kind of like behind him and just sort of like grab him by the shoulder or like tug on his suspender or whatever he's wearing. I imagine I'm like a full like 6 inches shorter than him. So like lean around an elbow and be like, all right, yeah, good job. We gotta make sure the body's dead. In the breathing. You think you could do that? Like, do the whole concerned guard act and just like sort of slip a little knife.
Yeah, I reckon I can do that. Subtlety is it's not my middle name, but I think it was one of my relatives' names. But yeah, I can do it.
Way back, yeah.
yeah. One of those quintuple barreled names. It's one of those. So yeah, I think Grip will go over to the body. Well, first of all, he'll shout among the rockers, because I think while he's having this conversation with Droog, he's still slugging people left, right, and center, just like very, nonchalantly.
Yeah, just like a couple of elbows, a couple of
like wipes another one out.
What action do you think you're going to take here to try and subtly finish the job?
Well, I think first of all, he'll shout like, "He's got money on him!" Like having seen the one person go over and start. It's a factory owner. Like nobody likes him in this part of town.
The woman screams back, who's already picking his pockets, like, "Find his capers!"
Well, I tell you what, maybe he's like, "Look at the M on those clothes; they're worth something." To just get people to go over and basically just clamor around, cause like enough chaos where he can then get in without being noticed. So I think that would probably be, I guess that would be sway again. Doing a lot of swaying today.
It sounds like you might be commanding as well. Could be an option if you're.
Oh, commanding's a good idea, but I don't have any points in that, so I'd rather sway.
Well, so if you use something that you don't have any points in, you'll roll 2 dice and take the worst result. But of course, you can always push yourself. So you always have, if you're willing to spend stress, you always have at least 1 die to roll.
Yeah, I suppose to be fair, command is probably more accurate. Let's do that.
Up to you.
Because it is force of personality, so I'll go with what's accurate rather than metagaming it.
I'll say, had you tried to use sway, it would have had less effect. So we'll keep it at a risky standard.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming you'll probably want to push yourself a little bit.
Oh yeah, he's again. He's in home territory now. Like this is where he works his best.
Anyone got any help they can provide?
I think I might run over and like grab like a ring off him or something and be like, "Wow, this is the shiniest ring I've seen.
This must be worth something."
So much. Dripping in jewels.
Finnegas is like, "Get off of me." You can hear him like he's starting to cough, there's blood getting into his lungs, like he's definitely towards the end.
Nice.
So we've got 2 dice, 1 from pushing and 1 from existing. Give us a roll, Matt.
Alright. It's a success.
Oh.
Yeah, I think the whole crowd now are just starting to swarm around the body of this guy who just looked like he had at least some money on him. Even the band are starting to get over and get involved. You can see they just sort of sling their loot around the back of their costume, and they're just like, "Oh, we weren't getting paid for this one anyway. They were going to give us exposure." At which point, there's such a big group around that it almost looks like you're trying to help as the guard, right? Even though you've gotten a few sort of like confused looks from the bar staff who are just like, why is he making more chaos? What kind of guard is this guy? But it gives you a moment. How are you finishing him off?
I look at Cass and Droog like, shall I do it? Like, do you want the honors? Okay. I'm gonna do something real nasty. If the loot players come over, I would like to, like, in the act of like being like, "Nah, get away! Like, there's good stuff here." I want to push on the loop, but break one of the strings off as I push them back, and then I will, if that is successful, use that to garrote him.
You know what? The pure success that you got before and the distraction you've caused, I'll let you do that one for free. You just sort of very, very subtly, it looks like you're trying to pull him away, but what you'll actually do is just pulling on the string of this, well, probably catgut, I guess. given the period, and it's just tightening around him, and you hear what was spluttering is now becoming choking, and he's just like, and eventually his face goes red, and with reduced capacity in his lungs anyway, it doesn't take him long before he starts to just have the light go out from his eyes. But at that point, there's so many people just like literally ripping the clothes off of him, tearing out of the building, that at that point nobody's really noticing. You can feel the time pressure on your backs now. It's time to get out of there. The job has been done.
Yeah.
But as soon as the light goes out from his eyes, you hear bells ringing out across the city as the people who are in charge of making sure that more ghosts don't appear in Dustfall have taken notice that someone's life has just ended. And you can hear the cawing of crows off in the distance approaching.
Grip grabs his hat, because it is a nice hat. It's got fine tailoring.
Yep.
So he takes that for himself, just as like a little memento of a job well done.
Yeah.
Get your little hat, actually.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, no, not Demon of Gabbling. That is not what I want.
And then I think, well, Grip at least will look at Droog and Cass and be like, time to go.
That's grand.
Job well done.
I haven't done. I've done one flashback. Can I do a second flashback to have secured an escape route, knowing that it was probably going to be chaos, not through the front door?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that this probably doesn't need much of a skill check, but I'm just gonna ask you to spend 2 stress. You took time out of your free time essentially to get it done.
Yep.
But once you've got that good, you sort of like all gesture towards, there's this window at the back, right by this sort of like mossy bust over here. You can see that it's a little bit loose. And as you push it open, you can see that it just leads off into one of the canals that sort of snake through Dustfall. And you jump onto a little boat that you've just prepared for yourself, just a little raft, and you manage to just very, very gently push yourself away. And that was a successful job well done. Congratulations, everyone. You pulled off your heist, you pulled off your hit. We can now go into downtime, at which point we do our payoff. So, reputation. We take stock of how your crew's reputation was affected. So we're going to, as a default, it was a high tier target, so I'm going to give you an extra rep. And it was not a quiet operation, so you definitely get some reputation from it. So we're going to assign that reputation. You're also going to get some money for your job. Let's say that this was a standard score with decent loot, so you're going to get 6 coin.
Sweet.
And a hat, man. What job?
And a hat.
We're going to say that unfortunately you have to pay a little tithe for your, the cruise area that you're working in. And the target crew tier is a little bit higher than yours, so we'll say that we won't add any extra coins on top of it. We'll go on to the next step. This is where we get to the heat, which is where we see how bad things are going to get for you. So let's see. This was a loud and chaotic, high exposure mission. I wouldn't say it's wild and devastating, but it was definitely loud and chaotic. So it was a high profile and well connected target. So we're going to add 1 more heat. You weren't on hostile turf. This is your standard territory that you're working in. You're not at war with another faction, but killing was involved, which adds yet another 2 heat. You assigning 7 when your heat reaches 9, you gain a wanted level. So pretty tricky. We're then going to also have a little look at incarceration. Incarceration is the only way to reduce your crew's wanted level. It's when one of you gets basically a prison sentence for what you did. We'll do a little roll. So you do 1d for each BC tier level. But to be honest, that's more nitty gritty. We don't need to get into that. But we've added some of that. We get some entanglement, which is going to affect all of the sort of like relationships with other crews and things like that, and all the bad things that happen to you as a result of you getting your action. And then we'll go into your activities where you get to indulge in your vices and train and reduce your heat and all that kind of stuff, which we do in downtime. But that is Blades in the Dark, and that is One More Multiverse. And I hope that gives you a good look at just how sort of fluid One More Multiverse can make Blades in the Dark play. I've really enjoyed myself. I hope you all have as well.
Yeah, thanks, Wills, and cheers, crew.
Yeah, a big thank you for someone who you wouldn't have heard, but Megan McCurdy is in the background from the One More Multiverse team, who was controlling some of the NPCs for us and making it a little bit more cinematic, which is always fun. And a big, huge thanks to One More Multiverse as well for showing us around and giving us a tour and setting us up to play. If you want to grab this for yourself, we'll have a link in the description of this YouTube video that you're watching. It is I believe, a one-time purchase for one of your players, so not everyone has to grab it to play at the same time. You just need one person to purchase it, and then at that point they can make a campaign which everyone else can jump in on. If you've enjoyed this as well, we've got plenty more Blaze in the Dark content here on YouTube. We've done loads of playthroughs with it before. In fact, it's November, so I can officially talk about the fact that Christmas is coming up. You can watch our Christmas playthrough in which Dicebreaker stole Christmas and all sorts of things like that. But we've got loads of content coming up in the future as well. So make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we put a new video up. And drop us a comment as well. You can find more of Chase and Matt over on Dicebreaker.com, writing all sorts of fantastic articles, including, I think, a list of best games that are based on Forge in the Dark, which you can play as well if you're a fan of Blaze in the Dark system. But until we see you next, have a wonderful time and enjoy stealing everything you can. And most importantly, have a lovely day. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.